Welcome back. I'm your host here, Stu Zimmerman, aka Stu Z, and you're listening to and watching Humankind. The conversation today is around activeness, taking the spirit, taking the love that we are out into the world, into these physical beings, and enjoying the heck out of life. And we're here right now with Iara Line, who's got so much going on. I'm going to have to read about it a little bit to you all. So here we go. And an entrepreneur, originally from Brazil. So if you've been watching our episodes so far, we've covered Australia, the continent of Europe with Ra from Germany, and now here we are from South America, Brazil, with Yara. So this is a worldwide conversation, literally. She's a family and systemic constellation facilitator, a neuro-linguistic programming coach, and speaker for the growing conscious learning movement. She's helped hundreds of people and hundreds more, thousands more on the way. And she's really here to invite in the divine right that we all have to simply be happy.
Yes, we all have the divine right. Yes,
Exactly.
our divine birthright.
So let's get into it, Yara. First of all, once upon a time as an entrepreneur, I imagine you were being a little more in the material world and perhaps a little bit less so in the world of consciousness and awakening.
It is true. I do have a background as being a tax and business attorney at law in Brazil, and then being a tax advisor and business advisor here in the US. And I was pretty much in the corporate world until I burned out. And until I started having an awakening that was not all about that, not just about that there is like so much more.
So when you say you burned out, does that mean that you actually left the working world and say, okay, take me, what's going on, what's up, and you started to get some downloads? Or
Actually, on the corporate world that I was working in Brazil, I was coming back home. I don't know if anybody relate with that. I was coming back home every day, like crying and desperation. It was just like too much pressure, too much. People was not seeing me as a human being. It was just like they were seeing me as a machine, and I need to do those tasks, and I have a deadline. It doesn't matter if I work like 10, 12, 14 hours, weekends, and work all the time. I need to deliver that. So I came to a point, I remember talking with my beloved husband, and my husband told, Yara, you're killing yourself, and I don't like seeing that. And I'm sorry, but if you keep doing that with you, we can no longer be together. And it was like a marking point for me. Because he thought, I cannot see you doing this with yourself. And for me, that hit so hard because, like, wow, my soulmate telling me that, okay, there is something wrong in this scenario. And that's when I left the corporate world and I opened my own law office in Brazil after it became an international law office as well. And the quality of life just like shifted completely. Like I have like just in 3 months, I was making the same amount of income that I was doing as coordinating these 5 IT companies. And I was having weekends off. I started doing yoga and meditation. And I started having my great awakening, started getting in touch with myself and with these superpowers. And there's so much more than just the material world.
Well, that's beautiful. And congratulations. So how did family constellation work come into your awareness? And how do you work with people to use family constellation work for them to be more in touch with who they are and take that into the world?
Now, first I would like to tell how family constellation came to my life.
Please.
One more, I was having an issue with my relationship with my husband on the beginning, and I was having all this jealousy, and I was like, he never gave me any reason to be jealous of him, basically not. And I was like, this is not right. Where is that coming from? And I started investigating that, and somebody told me you should try family constellation. And I was like, what is that? When somebody said about constellations, is that astrology? What is that? I didn't know what it was. And I went to a family constellation session. It was a one-on-one family constellation session. And during that session, this is very private, but I'm sharing with you all. During this session, it came up that jealousy that I had towards my husband was actually an issue that I had with my father. And during that session, we're able to bring things and balance things during this family constellation session. And I'm not kidding. I slept that night, and the next day, I was not jealous about my husband anymore. It worked like magic, and I was like, I was like, how is that possible? Because I know whoever here already feel jealous about something. It's a horrible feeling. It drains your energy. It's just such a low vibrational feeling. And for me to have that shift, and I was like, wow. I want to know more about that. And then I got very involved. I started going to group family constellations, started studying, and then eventually became a practitioner as well.
And so, what kind of transformative experiences? How do people relate to that, and what's the application that they can use in their lives? Is it any emotional issue that they have that they may not even be aware of the origin?
Absolutely, because family constellation, usually when a person comes to a family constellation session, usually they already tried everything and nothing seems to work. And if this is your case, this means that most likely there is an issue in your family system. Now you may ask, how does that work? Well, that works like as Actor Ra says, we are all connected. And we're all connected in what we call the morphogenetic field. So we have a family system, we have the human being system, we have the animal kingdom system. But let's say on the family system, we're all connected. This means that the well-being of one person affects the well-being of the other person. If you had I'll use Actor Raz one more time. If his grandfather came from Germany, came in a ship, and he was the ship that he was in was the only one that actually people survived. All the other ships sank. So perhaps like that man and everybody that was in that ship had a feeling of guilt. So wow, we're the only one that survived. This happened with people that was in the Holocaust as well. And plus all the traumas, that happen inside a ship, right? There is like starvation, there is disease, there's like so many things that can happen. So let's say that everybody that was in that ship suffers some type of trauma. And it was an unresolved trauma. They said, well, we finally arrived. Let's say we came from Germany to America. We finally arrived in America. And now we just need to carry over. We don't have time to think about, I have a trauma and I need to go to a psychologist, especially in the old days. No, we need to keep going with life. We got to make a living, right? And they carry the trauma. Then they meet his wife, and then they get married, and they have a child. And then that trauma can be passed to the next generation, and then to the next generation, and the next generation, through what we call epigenetics. There is a science that already proved that we don't just inherit the color of the hair, the color of our eyes. We also inherit the traumas, but we also inherit the strength and positive things from our ancestors as well.
Right, as well as from the environment that we're currently in.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're not that hardwired from, that's the genetic piece, but the epigenetics means the outer environment that influences how our cells evolve and grow from here.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And so how does neuro-linguistic programming fit in terms of how does that expand your sense of awareness and put that life and that love that you are into action?
I think it complements family constellation in a way. Family constellation, as I told, work with the morphogenetic field, so it's not analytical. I'm not like looking at you, Stu, the way that you put your hands here or the way you're holding a microphone. That is more part of the neuro-linguistic part of things. And reframing how your brain perceives things. But family constellation works with the morphogenetic field, that is the field that knows that all of your family. Now, the neuro-linguistic programming can help like afterwards, like for integration, because let's say you go through a family constellation session to work with addiction. Addiction is very common, because you can be carrying addictions behaviors from your ancestors. So that's great. So you do the family constellation session, and we'll be able to identify some hidden aspects of your family lineage. And maybe there is a person that was addict in the past, and that person was excluded from the family lineage. And because of that, you, the client, is having this addiction behavior. So we're able to identify that and bring that to a balance on the family constellation. But addiction is beyond that as well, right? There is other mental aspects and physical aspects, and neurolinguistic programming can help you to rewire these aspects and have a better integration after like a month that you did a family constellation session.
So let's go more deeply into what it's also known as NLP, right? The initials for neurolinguistic programming. Can you give us some examples of how you would use NLP?
Yeah, some people can be very radical. I'm not really radical with NLP, but I want to give an example of NLP that
Yeah,
one of
please.
my tutors, like Tony Robbins, used. For instance, he had this patient that was addicted to cigarettes. And so when that guy smoked a cigarette, I'm not that radical, just to tell, but when that guy was smoking cigarettes, he is just feeling the pleasure, right? There is the pleasure, there was the endorphins and the dopamine. So your body perceives that as a pleasure. Now you want to change, you want to help that person to change the perception the person has about smoking cigarettes. Now, what Tony Robbins did, for instance, I wouldn't do because it's too radical, was to put that guy in a closed room and make that guy smoke a whole package of cigarettes until his brain makes the association that actually cigarettes are gross and give them nausea and is disgusting, and that person will never wanted to smoke cigarettes anymore. It's all about changing your perception of things.
I had that experience myself in college where, we were staying up all night with a couple of buddies, supposedly studying. They were smoking cigarettes. So, okay, I'll smoke cigarettes with you. I smoked like a whole pack in one night, and I felt so bad the next day that I have no desire to pick up anything tobacco related like ever again.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, you change. Like there's
Right.
something that happened in your brain, your body that said, okay, this is I don't have pleasure doing that anymore. Actually, I'm disgusted about that, and I no longer want that. So there are some radical approach to NLP, and some that are not so radical anymore. For instance, let's say that you're a salesman. And every time that you do a sales, you can take, for instance, a mint essential oil and you smell that mint essential oil. And you start doing that every time. So you start associating that a successful sales with the smell of mint essential oil. Now, let's say you start, after doing that for a month, and every time that you do a sales, you start saying, okay, so before seeing a client now, and I know I'm going to close that sales, I will smell that it meant essential oil. And your brain, you make the connection that this means you're going to close a sales. And you're more positive and you're more excited to actually close that sale. Most likely going to close that sale.
So that's like a form of anchoring or something like
It is
that.
anchoring,
So
yes.
it's that association
Yes.
with something positive
Yes.
with something that has not yet occurred
That's correct.
that you have a new relationship to that is also highly positive and even magnetic.
That's correct, yes. So it can complement the family constellation. Completely different things. Completely different things, the family constellation, the NLP. But one can complement the other one.
Uh-huh. So how do you like to work with people? What is your modality that you kind of lean into the most? And just share more of that, please.
It's definitely the family constellation because the transformation that I see in people. So people come to the office and sometimes can be with a physical pain. Like I have a pain in my shoulder and I already went to all the doctors and nothing seems to fix that pain. And when we do a one-on-one family constellation, we have a board, a wooden board, and I'll show you here. And we have those figurines over here for a one-on-one family constellation because there is group family constellation as well. And we put the family members will be represented by those figurines. So the client will be one figurine. We have all the family members that want to come to the board because once we open the field, that is very similar to the Akashic field. The morphogenetic field is kind of similar to the Akashic. When you open the field, you know who wants to come to the field. And once you open the field with the figurines and you go to the field of each family member on the board, let's say, I'll say over here those two. So let's say the blue one here is Stu. And let's say the red one is Stu mother. And let's say that you're having, and once I say to the field that this is Stu, and this is Stu mother. The field knows that. Then I'll tell Stu, I want you to look to your mother and see the sensations that come to your body. And then I'll come to your mother's field also and see the sensations that come in her body. And with family constellation, the field eventually will show if that pain that is coming, if you have a pain in your shoulder, this come in your shoulder, is in your family system, the session, the field will show where it's coming from. So let's say, for instance, that came from your father that was carrying like a heavy emotional weight in his shoulder for some reason. And then, as you say, you're going to tell your father, there's another figurine to represent your father. And you can tell your father, Father, I'm so sorry for what happened with you. And I'm so sorry that you have been carrying this deep weight in your shoulders. But now I ask you to release me from that. And now I give to you what it belongs to you. And I just keep what it belongs to me. I no longer need to carry that weight within me. Because you don't. You don't. You can pull the strengths of your family lineage. You don't need to carry their traumas. We are the ones that our ancestors have been waiting for, because morphogenetic field shows that once you cure, you bring healing to one person. If you heal yourself, you're gonna heal that with that specific issue. Everybody on the back will get healed, and everybody moving forward will get healed as well. So it's just like fascinating, and see people come back and say, wow, that pain in my shoulder actually disappeared. Wow, my addiction levels like so much better because I could see where my addiction was coming from. So it's just bringing me such a joy in my heart to be able to facilitate that, because I'm not healing anyone. The person is healing. We're open the field over here, showing these hidden dynamics that the client is not able to see. And from seeing that, healing happens.
How long has this family constellation process been around?
Well, Bert Hellinger, since like the 90s officially, but Bert Hellinger, that was the creator of family constellation, he already passed away. He's German, by the way. He started like way back, like on the 70s, when he was originally a priest from the Catholic Church. And then he went as a missionary. He went to Africa, and he was able to live with the Zulu tribe in Africa. And one thing that fascinated him was like how that people would really worship their ancestors. Even though the people already passed away, they would celebrate their birthdays. They would celebrate their victories. They would also always be thankful for their ancestors. And he thought it was so beautiful. He was like, wow. And in the Catholic Church, he couldn't see that, and that really stuck with his mind. And eventually, he became a therapist, a psychotherapist, psychologist, at all types of therapies that you can imagine. And he came into creating the family constellation. But imagine that was based on that. The seed that was planted was when he was at that Zulu tribe and saw that, because what he noticed also was that people were so happy. You know, the people that they honor their ancestors, they were always like celebrating ceremony, and they're happy, even with all the difficulties, even with all, right? Africa, those tribes, they fight within each other. There's a lot of disease going on. Even with all the odds, they were happy.
So how do you do your happy? What is it that gets your juices flowing and has you beaming and radiant with that smile that I always see you with every time I run into you?
For me, it's like being nature, be surrounded by people that I really love, doing what I love to do. I just love sharing my knowledge. Like I learn something new and I apply myself. I apply some clients and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to share with the world. I just love like sharing things. Knowledge is for me, it's like everything. Take the knowledge, apply the knowledge. And it just make me happy. Yeah. Okay. Eat good food. Eat good food also, for sure.
Okay.
Eat good food. This week I'm like sugar-free. So good.
Yeah, because it really is a bit of a, our journey in life is really to take this consciousness that we are, which is ultimately beyond the body, and have it be fully integrated in the body. So we get to enjoy, as Arcturus Ra mentioned earlier, the odds of our existing, each one of us individually, is beyond minuscule. So it's such a great gift. How can we make the most of it and put it into use, put it into action?
It is.
And one of the things that I've noticed that all of our speakers here today have in common is service. How can we help to lift others up, right? Because that is something, one, that gives us joy. And two, it's perhaps the best use of this energy that we are, is to help to raise the energy around us. And
Absolutely, because we're all connected.
we're all connected.
Because we're all connected. So if you raise your energy, you're helping other people. When you do your healing work and your inner work, you're helping other people. It's like just that ripple effect, for sure.
Yeah. So what do you recommend to people in terms of what they can be doing to take their happy to a new level and really put it into motion?
Yeah, I want to recommend actually a family constellation practice that I believe is one of the most powerful that it can be. Just remember that we all came from a mother and a father, right? We all came from a mother and father. And this means we're 50% our mothers and we're 50% our fathers. And what happens when we don't accept in our heart our mother and our father? You don't accept yourself. So when you don't accept yourself, you cannot live your fullest life. You just cannot. We always have something hanging over there. So it's so important to bring that acceptance to your heart. And I'm not telling you, like, if you suffer any type of abuse by your father or by your mother, you don't need to love them to death, or you don't really want to relate with them because they're abusive with you. No, it's not this. Is to accept the fact, if it wasn't for them, you're not going to be here. You would not be who you are. Simple like that. And you chose them. So one practice that I think is a very powerful practice, I think it starts with the mother, because the mother is the one that gave us birth, right? Just imagine, I'd like everybody to imagine, feel free to close your eyes with that one, to imagine your mother in front of you. And pay attention to the feelings that come up when you imagine your mother in front of you. And if they're not positive feelings, I invite you to find in your memory bank one good moment that you had with your mother, because I'm sure you had at least one. And I'm talking about your biological mother right now. And if you never met your biological mother, just imagine how the biological mother looks like. But imagine one moment, one pleasant moment that can bring happiness and joy to your heart, that can bring a little inner smile. And when we come to that place of gratitude and love and pure love. And if you're still having a hard time because you had a hard time with your mother and still having a hard time finding that love and gratitude, imagine the mother number 2 in front of you. The mother number 2 is the same mother, but is in a higher octave. So it's the mother that you wish she was with you, but she couldn't be because of her own limitations. But bring that gratitude and that love. And once you're in that point of gratitude and love, if you already are in that space, then tell your mother how grateful you are that she gave you birth, that she was able to be the portal for you to come to this earth. And you can say, if you're at home, you can say out loud and say these words to your mother. And if you're ready, even tell her how much love you have towards her. Because you know that mother carried you for 9 months. She gave you birth. She most likely breastfed you if she could. Not every mother can do that. And she kept you alive because you wouldn't be here. She kept you alive one way and another. Maybe she wasn't the best mother of the world, but she kept you alive. But when you're able to really have that honest love and gratitude and acceptance. And also to understand that that woman did her best on her capacity to raise you. Because our mothers have their own traumas as well. They have their own issues. They have been carrying some things that a lot of times we don't know. And when we really bring that gratitude, that's when you bring acceptance in your heart about your mother. And this can shift everything in your life. It can be very powerful. Just this simple exercise. And you can even bow yourself also. Imagine your mother in front of you and bow yourself in front of your mother. Honoring that woman. And know that when you're honoring that woman, you're honoring yourself. Because you're 50% your mother and 50% your father. So I invite you to do this exercise, listen to this video again. And if you need, do that as many times as you need until you feel that acceptance in your heart. Because that's you shift things. As you imagine, mother is all about, is our first success in life is through a mother, because being born is a success. Not every baby are born alive, okay? Second success, be able to suck the milk from your mother's breast. Not every baby has that opportunity as well. And not every mother can give that also. So the mother is about success, actually. It's about life, being open for life. A person with mother issues maybe have issues about being open for life and success. And when I say success, it's not just financial success. So what is success for you may not be the same definition of what is success for me. But having that feeling, okay, I'm here, I have a purpose, I'm fulfilling this purpose, this is success for me. And through the mother, we can achieve that.
Yara, thank you so much. I'm not sure how you all doing out there, but I can feel a shift in my being to a deeper state of gratitude and lightness. And my journey with my mom has certainly not been a straight line. There have been plenty of moments that I've had some kind of radical, energetic separation from her in my adult life and even as a teen. And it just felt like I was, in a way, recapturing more of my own essence by diving into your guidance.
Yeah, because like there was that acceptance on the heart, right? Okay, she wasn't the most perfect mother in the world, and come on, gosh, I don't even know. I'm not a mother in this lifetime. I don't know. It must be tough. You have all those things going on, and you still gotta be a mother, 24/7 job, right? With all the other things going around you, they do their best.
Oh, I
question
understand.
about that.
Being a parent, even as a dad, never been a mom. Although, the truth is, one of my wives passed away, and I raised a son from 5 all the way up, and that had me do my best to tap into some of the qualities like nurturing that may not have been my go-to in my more masculine state, but having to kind of play both roles, did my best to try and, what would mom do? Or a loving mom do, more specifically. And and it just to say that this is a very profound pathway for healing and for coming back into wholeness.
Coming back into wholeness, yes.
Which I feel like ultimately that's what our topic has been about today. It's called activeness. And yet, in my understanding of it, it's really taking our wholeness and putting it into moment-to-moment practice. And it comes out as active.
Yes, it's all connected, right? When things are right inside of us, is right outside of us as well. It's the same thing, I don't know if you ever have that growing up when you say, gosh, that kid is so lazy, or this person is so lazy. And have you ever probably heard about that, right? Somebody calling another person lazy and all
Of
of
course.
that. Yeah. But This can be in your family system as well. This can be something related to your mother,
Comes from
your
a whole
father.
line of lazy people.
Yeah,
Don't blame
it's
him.
like, don't blame. I'm not kidding. It can be. It may not be their fault. Said, oh, go to the doctor. You have a hormone issue. I don't know. And it's like you have all those blood tests and it's all good and what's going on, right? It can be that. Bring to that wholeness. Bring to the acceptance of the mother, of the father, of letting go. Also giving back to the ancestors. Here's what belongs to you. I give back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to give back what belongs to them. You don't need to carry the heavy things that they carried all the time. You can be the one to stop right now so your child, your grandchild will not have to carry that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I have some experience with that as well.
Oh,
Both in doing breath work and even doing some other kind of deep meditative work, where it came very clear to me that one of my issues I got from my dad. And I said, well, would you take it back? And sure enough, energetically, I really did feel like something was lifted. So I know that to be true.
Yes, and we give back with love, right?
Yeah.
It's not about, it's not, here it is.
No, right. I'm not throwing it back in his face. I just say,
Yes.
please, here, you take it. If it's yours, it's yours, and let me be me
Yes.
in my wholeness.
Yes.
And he, of course, he wants that from me. He wants my independence and freedom to be whole.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you had that experience.
Me too. It really, people notice it. People say, I've noticed that you seem a little different, a little either more gentle or just a little softer in the appearance somehow, in presentation. And all I can say is, thank you. I'm doing my work, and we're all doing our work.
Yeah.
And to your point, and it's already been mentioned, we are interconnected. So your healing is my healing, and my healing is your healing, and our healing really can heal everybody.
Absolutely. Sometimes we just want to heal the world. I want to change the world. I want to heal the world. And just starts right here.
Yes.
If you just focus right here as a starting point, the world will be healed.
Yeah. So that's everybody who's watching right now. A little more incentive. Now log on your fire to do your work, and hopefully not all of it seems so laborious. Because what I'm also hearing in some of the family constellation work, we'll call it work, but really it's an experience and a process that need not be so, weighty necessarily, especially as we're releasing the weight.
Yes, absolutely. It's just it's an amazing line of work. I didn't have any idea that could go so deep and so many generations behind. And there is this experiment that I love sharing with people. There's two experiments. One they did with human beings, and the other one they did with mice. But the human beings, what they did with humans was from the victims of the Holocaust. So they took so they went to a certain area, I forgot the name of the city, said, okay, so let's interview people that was descendants of the victim of the Holocaust. And the same area, there is some other people living there that they were not the descendants of the victims of the Holocaust. And this is about the epigenetic stuff, and they did the blood tests and noticed that the levels of cortisol of people that were descendants of the victims of the Holocaust was super high. So they were like, wow. Okay, and the person didn't have any apparent reason to have such a high levels of cortisol compared with the other group, just really proving how things get passed from generation to generation. And they did another one with mice. Oh, poor little guys, that they put some cherry blossom smell inside a cage and put the mice over there, I don't know how many. And then every time that it would smell the cherry blossom, they would give an electroshock on that mice. And they did that many times. It would smell, put the smell, another shock. So then they said, okay, the female and the male had baby mice. They have baby mice, and then they put the baby in a cage, and just by exposing them to the smell, the cherry blossom smell, they would have the same body reaction of having the electric shock. It's just to prove that things really it passed from generation to generation, and it's time, guys. It's time to release. It's time to let it go.
Yeah.
Those things.
So really, as we heal ourselves, we're not just doing it for our own individual and personal benefit. We're actually doing it for whatever lineage there is to follow us going through time, right?
We are, yes.
As well as where we're here right now and whoever we're in contact with. So
Yes. Let's be the ones.
exactly. So if it's not enough just to do it for our own enlightened self-interest, let's do it for the people around us and the people who are going to follow us on this planet. And let's just see how much we can lighten up. And with that, Yara, thank you so much for joining us. How can people get hold of you?
Oh, thank you so much, Stuzi. Thank you, Humankind Center. It's a pleasure to be here. So to contact me, you can go to my website. That is lifechangebreakthroughs.com. So it's lifechangebreakthroughs.com. You can find me on Instagram as Iara Line or Facebook. I love interacting with people. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to contact the Humankind Center or contact me directly at the lifechangebreakthroughs.com. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to have you here and to share your light and wisdom with everybody. So thank you, Yara.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you all for being here. We're going to take a brief break and have a message from our sponsor, Daughters of Heaven Conference. So stay tuned for them. And we're going to come back and all the people you've seen here today with Amalia, Kamateros, Arcturus Ra, and Iara Line. We're all going to be in conversation together. So stick around for that one as well. We'll be right back.